Hello, everyone, and thank you for stopping by. So, before we get into this too much, I just want to say Stargate is one of my favorite TV shows that has ever existed. And I'm just going to say Stargate because all of the spin offs like Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe, even though Stargate Universe was probably my least favorite, they're all really good. And I think they're all in the same timeline and I enjoy them all the same. But regardless of my opinions on it, Stargate is one of the best sci fi shows that has ever existed. I'm not saying it's the best. I know people argue me on that point, but is one of the best. Anyways, top five for sure. And the last Stargate content that we've had was Stargate Universe, and it ended in May 9th, 2011. At least that is what I thought until recently. So I was perusing Amazon Prime Video, which is where I go when I absolutely have nothing else to choose from. And I found a TV show that was very interesting. There was a show called Stargate Origins, which has one season and 10 episodes. So, as a Stargate fan, I had to watch them. And this video is going to be my thoughts on that season. But before we get into it, I will say there will be spoilers, but I will keep the spoilers till the end. So if you want to watch it yourself and not have it spoiled, you can watch the first part of this video and I will let you know when the deep spoilers will come in. But I will be telling you the plot of the show. I won't be saying how it ends or how it goes or anything, but I will be telling you the plot, which isn't, I don't think that's really a spoiler. That's more of just a plot line. If you watch the trailer, you'd be getting the same information. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. So Stargate Origins is set in the year 1939, and it follows Catherine, and she's the older woman that recruits Daniel in the first, the movie that came out. But her and her dad are investigating the Stargate, trying to figure out what it is about. They think it's just kind of like a Rosetta Stone type thing. Then a group of Nazis just kind of show up out of the middle of nowhere and they suddenly know how to open it. They have a Stargate address and they charge it up with just a Jeep engine and they use the Stargate to travel to another planet. And they end up taking Catherine's father with them, and they take him because he knows ancient Egyptian, and they need a translator on the other side, and they somehow knew that they'd speak Egyptian on the other side. And Catherine ends up having to figure out how the Stargate works so that she can go through and follow him and try to save him she brings a British soldier as well as an Egyptian soldier with them. So they're going in to try to save her father. So if you've seen all the Stargate shows, you probably are really confused by that synopsis right there. And that's because when they open the Stargate for the first time in the movie, that is the first time the Stargate is opened. And this is kind of just counteracting all of that. And I'll go into that more when I get to the deep spoilers. They explain that later on, but I won't go into that until I get to the actual spoilers part. But I just wanted to give you that synopsis right there. So my first thoughts about it are, the first thing I don't like is that episodes are only 8 to 10 minutes long. I was watching it and I got really surprised when the end credits hit really soon. I pushed the enter button and it was only running for 8 minutes and I realized the episodes are only 8 minutes long. So you imagine 8 times 10, it's about the length of a movie. I don't know why they didn't just make it a movie and they made a TV show. That's just kind of weird. But if you are interested on YouTube, there's a free version of it that is made into a movie version, which is 10 times better than watching it as a TV show because it's just annoying to be interrupted by the credits every 8 minutes. It just gets kind of annoying after a while. So I have to say most of the stuff that bugs me is going to be in the part that's going to be spoiler section, but I will say there's a lot of stuff in this that I just kind of didn't really like other than the short episode length. The first thing I really didn't like was the general kind of vibe of the show. They try to add a lot of humor that just doesn't hit right. In the Stargate SG-1 and even in Atlantis, they have a lot of humor, but it's added in just the right amount and in the right moments to where it's funny, but it doesn't ruin the tone of the show. But I feel like the Stargate Origins, it was just added a lot of humor that really didn't need to be there, and it wasn't really that funny. And it kind of made light of a lot of situations that should have been serious. For example, one scene I'll tell you about, she's being held hostage by this Nazi that's supposed to kill her. She tries to get away and she ends up escaping and then coming back with her friends, the Egyptian soldier and the British soldier. And they end up knocking him out. And you find out he's wearing her underwear. And it's just kind of a weird scene. It's why? There's just a Nazi wearing women's underwear. And it just seems really stupid. And I didn't really hit right. I don't know. But that's just one example of the humor just kind of being weird and out of place. It seems I don't know. Richard Dean Anderson was just a funny guy who could be serious. And I just think it was perfect for the character that he was. So the next thing I'm going to bring up is kind of a spoiler, but when they get to the other side of the Stargate, they end up meeting a Gould, which is a female Gould who's hiding from Ra. But I'll say one of the things that I found kind of confusing was that the Gould didn't speak English, which in the Stargate SG-1 TV show, the Gould all spoke English. They could understand the humans, and that wasn't ever really a problem. But that's just a small thing, that's something I can just overlook. But the thing I didn't really like was she didn't really act like a normal Gould. So this is going to get into a little bit more spoilers, but the Nazis are trying to get her to help them with fighting the Americans and the British back home and during World War II. But this Gould lady wanted to fight against Ross, so she wanted the support of the Nazis as well. So she agreed to help them back on Earth, and then in return, the Nazis would come and help her fight Ra. But if you've ever seen Stargate, you'll know that the Gould pretty much actually think that they're gods, and they wouldn't have acted like this. She would have just said, "You're a slave to me. I own you. Now you will serve me." It wouldn't have been like make a deal with them and be like they're equals. That wouldn't have never happened. And it's just like I didn't really like how they portrayed the Gould in this show. But this actually leads perfectly into let's go into more with the spoilers. So at this point, if you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers, probably turn off the video now and come back after you've seen it. But anyways, from this point on, I'm going to assume you don't care about spoilers. Okay, so carrying on from the point that I was making, the other thing I didn't really like that they did with the Gould was she ends up letting them go even after all they've been fighting, and she ruined their alliance with the Nazis and everything. And the only reason that she does it is because she finds out that the girl is the old man's daughter, and she has a daughter. The Gould has this like a baby, and so it makes her sympathetic. But like if you know the Gould, you know that she wouldn't have sympathy for them at all or anything like that. To them, these people are just animals. They're hosts. They're something for them to use. They're slaves, and they do not care about humans at all. They have no sympathy, and it's just completely out of place for the situation. Okay, so there's a lot that I can nitpick about the show, and I'm not going to do that too much. But so the ending really makes me upset, but I'll get into that later on. Right now, I kind of wanted to say a few good things that I enjoyed about the show. Okay, so nitpicking one more thing, the acting in this show was kind of subpar, not that great. But with that being said, a lot of the costume design and makeup work I think was actually really good, as well as the cinematics. And like when the Stargate opens up is actually really cool. And I think they did really well with all of that. Like the visuals were really good, but the acting could have been a little bit better. With all I've said about the casting and the acting in this, I think that the Catherine's father, the professor, I actually really like him in this, and I think I'd like to see him in more like later on if they ever do more, but I don't know. I hope that they don't in this kind of like scenario anyways. I'll get into more of why that is later on, but I just want to say what I like about this guy. But he kind of gives off like Daniel Jackson vibes, where he's kind of like this archaeologist, and he's kind of just like a fun character, and I really enjoyed him. And it's kind of sad because like he's in this timeline where any kind of Stargate SG-1 timeline, he's probably going to be long gone, so we probably won't ever see him again, and if we do, it'd be in a situation where I wouldn't like it. And actually now let's talk about that. So spoiler alert, everyone but Catherine and her father end up dying, and this woman right here, she ends up taking their memories away, so they don't remember they even go through the Stargate. So that's how they explain that Catherine doesn't know how to open up the gate anymore, is because this woman made him forget that it even was a Stargate, and she made him forget everything that happened, and then the people that died, they just disappeared, and no one cares or really knows what happened to them. So the show's called Stargate Origins, but overall, everything that happens is pretty much gets made moot because they forget that even happened, and the only person that knows what happened is the Gould person, who we don't even see later on in the Stargate SG-1 or anything like that. So in the end, everything that happened was just pointless, and it doesn't make any difference, and we're back to square one essentially. But that's all I'm going to really bring up about the show. I just kind of think that there's a lot that it was just kind of a big letdown overall. I mean, by the time that this show came out, we hadn't had anything Stargate for 7 years, and this is the best that they could come up with. Like, really? I think if they wanted to keep this plot of having the Nazis like come over and open up the gate, I mean, that's fine, but I think they should have had all new characters so that they didn't have any plot armor, because we know Catherine doesn't die because she's in Stargate SG-1, right? And if you wanted to have this big non-consequential plot where the Nazis go through the Stargate and try to have allies and then they get stopped, I think you should have had a whole new cast with people that we don't know, and then just had them all die or something like that. I don't know, I just feel like there was countless different directions that they could have gone with this, and any one of them would have been better than what they chose. But I don't know, I'm just glad to see something with Stargate anyways, even though it was kind of a stinker. I hope we get more content coming out soon with it, and you never really know. It could be good, could be bad. It's kind of a coin flip with things anymore. But let me know what you guys think about it. If you went and watched it, let me know, what did you think? What do you want to see in the future? What kind of Stargate spinoff would you want to see? And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like the video and subscribe. And hang around for my favorite scene in Stargate SG-1 ever. I'll play it after this. But anyways, be sure to like and subscribe and enjoy the clip.
Oh, yeah. That'll play. How far is Alaris, anyway?
Several billion miles away.
That's gotta be a record.